Order. Item number B1 is electronic participation by a school board member. The member had explained to me, and it's within the policy bounds, so in case they attend, they'll be able to attend by Zoom. I don't know how realistic it is, but they will try under these circumstances. So is there a motion to approve the electronic?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. DePaul and Mrs. Lowry, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gilio,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
Yes.
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Dr. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul,
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next is Pledge of Allegiance, Dr. Day.
It should be open.
Just want to be sure.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Day. Thank you, Dr. Day. Next is item D1, agenda approval for work session. Is there a motion?
I move we approve the agenda.
Dr. Day,
Second.
Dr. Carter, second. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gilio,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
Yes.
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Dr. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul,
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie.
Yes.
I do not see either one online, so I don't need to call them, so motion passes.
Thank you. Yeah, they may not, but it gives them the opportunity if they are able to. Next is Chair's comment. I don't have anything to say other than, Mr. Trost lost his father-in-law, and I just wanted to extend our sympathies, and our thoughts and prayers are with his family, and that's why he'll try his best to attend the meeting today as the guy he is, He doesn't want to miss a single school board meeting. So anybody who wants, I'll open the floor if anybody wants to say anything.
Do you know what his last name was? Because I kind of looked to see if I saw it in the paper, and I didn't.
I knew he was a lawyer, a good mentor for him, but I...
Lived here?
No, in Richmond.
Oh, okay, because maybe that's why I couldn't find
Mr.
it.
Frost
Okay.
is in Richmond today.
I was just praying for comfort for the family. It's gotta be hard.
Thank you. Next is Agenda F1, Dr. Edwards.
So this is our annual license professional report. It is a list of the certificated staff or staff whose certificate is needed to do their particular jobs. So what you have is the renewals as of May 21st, which is today. On that particular list, this is something that we do annually each year before we start to do the contracts.
Would you like it to be an action item tonight?
Yeah, that
It's
would be.
listed as an action
Yes,
item.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
right?
it would. That would
First
be nice.
reading, okay.
Yes.
Like to-
Is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve.
Dr. Carter?
Second.
Mrs. Lowry, second. Any discussion on annual license professional report? Mrs. Shepherd is there and Dr. Edwards is there. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gilio,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
Yes.
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Dr. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul,
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Item F2, Dr. Edwards, budget discussion.
Sure, not much here, but I do want to just kind of share that, just so we're all looking from the same little thingy. Pass that around.
One to Mr. Robinson, he's sitting in
Sure.
the
Yeah, there should be enough.
He's got one.
Okay, so just a couple quick updates, and just to also let the board know where we are. No calc tool is available yet. It is projected to be available May 31st, which is next Friday. Fingers crossed if that comes in early. What I just passed out is the resolution that was on council's agenda last Tuesday. I do believe that they postponed it to have their first reading on next Tuesday for this particular item, which has our budget in it. So, and I just wanted to just remind school board that what's listed for us, the state budget, the 68,812 is, that was the governor's original December, sounds like such a long time ago, budget, and we've had several iterations or since then. So what's my team doing right now? We are using the documents that were provided to us to kind of make some adjustments based on what we are projecting as might be our revenue. We also went back and retooled that based on a 39, 360, 355, which is what's listed from the city, so that we would do a revised budget. Well, we normally have to do that anyhow, but we'll do a revised budget. There's a little bit of hesitancy on our part to just jump ahead and say, go, and here's why. We were super excited last year when we got our state budget, and we went, and then somewhere in September, we were told, oh, by the way, 3.7 million of that you cannot use for the things that you thought you could. So take that away, use that for all-in, which we know all-in has three different components to it, the biggest one being tutoring and chronic absenteeism, and then literacy, yes. So we pulled that money aside, which actually lowered the, I like to call it usable budget for what we need to do with just regular operations. And we really didn't realize that until the calc tool was active, when we were like, oh, okay, so here's what, and then, of course, the work that the governor did. So we're kind of waiting to see what the calc tool looks like, to see if there's any other surprises or restrictions on the dollar amounts before we finalize our budget. But I did want to let you all know that we are planning for a new budget, because our turnaround time will be short. So we're planning for a new budget, and again, we're waiting for the state to finalize its part, as well as just retooling what we put in there for the city support as being what's on this document here, 39, 360, 355, which is the flat funding that we have this year. And also with that, hopefully no contingency, but they have it as a contingency, but we know that that's problematic, having that as a contingency, since we also had to request the contingency reserve for this current year.
So should we also add to that, City Council did pass our request to move that 1.67 million from the contingency reserve to instruction for the current year?
Yes, they did a first vote on it, and they take two votes, or?
I think they'll do 2 votes on that. It's a little different than usual, but it's not really appropriating funds, but I think they'll probably end up doing 2.
Okay.
And they also passed a proposal to create a 1.6 million reserve to keep schools open for the coming fiscal year.
Correct. Which would also need maybe 2 votes, we don't.
Yeah, it seems strange to vote on something twice, but
So anytime in the city's charter, anytime the city council spends money, they say you have to vote twice. It's a unique thing about Lynchburg.
I mean, to read it twice is one.
It just
to
is.
vote twice.
Yeah.
What happens if the 2 votes are different?
then you don't get the money.
Okay.
Other, Mrs. Lowry?
Question, if the council shows something more and we get more money, where's that money gonna go, that extra that we're gonna get? Do you have a plan for that?
Sure, but it was part of what we shared when we did the joint, city council joint meeting where, one, part of the extra money we know will be in a 3% salary increase. That seems to be pretty
Okay.
definite. Now, remember, our original budget is built on a 1% bonus for everybody, so this would be a 3%. There is a compensation supplement with that, should we accept it, we have to match it for SOQ, but if we just do the practicality of what we have to do, that supplement is about a third of what we need to really do the 3%. So anything above that, we would be, there's no plan for, we're gonna use this, except to do the rest of the 3% increase for the rest of the staff, which is the 67%. And then, of course, if we don't have to do some of the debt cuts that we made, like you see on here, we're basically doing something we don't like to do, borrowing $1 million from our health insurance reserve
Yeah.
to kind of help us. If
Offset that.
don't have to do that, that would be great.
So this is for bonuses, not, you said this is a bonus, it's not a pay, a part
No,
of the pay raise?
what's coming through is going to be a 3% salary increase. right,
Okay,
not-
all right.
So the bonus goes away, but the bonus was kind of built into our original
Oh, I see.
budget. at a
And-
1%.
And I think you had an estimate for what our cost was going to be for our portion of that. Is that right? At the Facilities and Finance Committee meeting?
Yes, sir.
Can you remind me what that number was?
It was tracking to be about 2.5 million for total staff at the time. And then the governor's portion of that would be 1.1 million,
So you said,
estimated,
2.5
million.
2.5.
Which was based on all the staff that were in place at the time.
Right.
Other questions for Dr. Edwards? I'm gonna go on my usual rant. You know, our employees, our minimum wage is $15 an hour. If you give somebody a 3% increase, that's about 45 cents an hour. In a year, that comes to about $930 a year. After tax is $561. Inflation is killing us. Every time I go to Kroger, last time I went, I bought a bag not even full of groceries, and bill was $35. That's expensive. So the average weekly gain for an hourly employee will be $10. And that's not acceptable. For years, we've been, I don't want to use the fighting, but we have been struggling to raise our teacher salary to minimum of $50,000. $50,000. LPD has it, firemen have it. What's wrong? I'll call my teacher, I'll say our teachers have done to meet the same standard of minimum $50,000. I was at Budget and Brews. The city manager was proposing $23 minimum wage for many of the city employees. And I felt like, why? And again, I use the word my or our, LCS hourly employees are left behind. So I would say if there's any extra money, we'd make every effort under the sun, instead of giving those savings back to schools, to make sure we are able to achieve those benchmarks we have been talking about for now almost years. I've been on the school board for 6 years, right? We started at 10, we are farther away. I wish I had voted with Dr. Carter when she proposed minimum $15 at that time, and didn't realize the inflation will be so high. Inflation is really high. So my humble request to the group will be, we got to reach that standard. We cannot keep lollipop in front of our teachers saying it's coming, and when the money comes, we divert it to other places. So this could be the year, if there's an extra money, where we can reach that 50. I know I was told a dollar increase will cost about 900,000, and I don't know how much that there was in your pyramid last time was showing how much that 47 to 50 was, about 2.6 million. I don't know what was the exact number, but numbers can be looked at later on. You know, we may not be able to go right at 50, but we can get closer to 50. You know, every dollar helps in current day situation, especially when you got young families. So I know it's a usual rant I do every time, but to me, it's just becoming more and more unacceptable that we leave these people behind. More employees, less employees, that's a secondary discussion. You know, enrollment, no enrollment, I understand all those logistical issues, but to me, it's the people who are part of the Lynchburg City School family, and when we call them family, we better take care of them. You know, we cannot give the slogan saying we are there to increase your salaries and keep our mouth shut when it comes to voting. I'll shut up now, so thank you for listening. You have anything more, Dr. Edwards?
No, you just had me at hello. I've been trying to get salaries up for the entire time I'm here. It just, I mean, every year we propose what we feel like is a reasonable request. Let me start there, that, you know, we've never asked for, like, give us $15 million or anything like that, just to keep pace. And you're absolutely right, it is.
See, Richmond does these unfunded mandates. 3% increase will cost a division $1.5 million from our pocket. Richmond will give us 1.5 million. The other 1.5 million, we have to make up for that. And if the locality match is not there, then we have to tell our teachers why we are not giving them 3% increase as the Richmond has promised. It's coming their way. And the same thing has happened in previous years, where 4%, 2%, we have gone up to 12% increase. And 12%, you look at it, is about $12 million, right? $1 million a percent. So that's not gonna change. But people are living it's tough. Whenever I visit schools, and some of these are people, I call them guys and gals, are working 3 jobs. And one custodian I was talking to, he said he works 3 jobs. I said, so are you going home for dinner? He said, no, she'll bring dinner to me because I gotta go to the next job. That's sad. That's not good. I know I'm a capitalist, but still, it's not acceptable.
And that's been going on for a while.
It has been, yeah. And
For years,
so
decades.
if we have some extra money, and I'm pointing to across the street, please work with us so we can make the lives of all citizens of Lynchburg. They live in this town. There must be our neighbors across the street, across the hallway, you know, someplace. So we gotta take care of them. It's a humanistic issue. And I think as a board, we should come together and say, I know Mr. Andrews is not here. He was quite, and Mr. Trost, they've been quite proponent of this. And all these people, you have been there in this, some of you have been there longer. That 50,000 salary has been there on the docket for a while. Dr. Carter, how long? Is it 3, 4, 5 years?
Not that long.
Yeah, it has been there for a while. So, and 3,000, ultimately, if you look at it, divided 60% they take home, right, after taxes, and divided by 12 is about $100 a month. So it's not a whole lot, but every little bit helps. Every little bit helps when the cost of running a home is higher and higher day after day. I don't care what politicians say, but I see it at gas pump, I see it at the grocery store. I should not name I'm sorry, I mentioned my grocery store, but you know, I see it at the grocery store every time I go there. I apologize for my rant, but I wanted to say that. Thank you. No other questions? Thank you. Item G, I was wondering, we have already read them once, right? If we can combine them all together, it's a second reading. And if there are no questions, we can put them for a vote. And if during the discussion, if any changes need to be made, or if there are changes, we can take them out right now when we approve them and combine them for one single vote. What do you think, Dr. Day? You are the parliamentarian.
That's, okay. So I will make a motion that we combine all the policy updates into a single, is it a consent agenda for voting on multiple things at once?
Yeah.
I do have a question about one of them, but it's minor and we
So
can,
let me second that motion, so it's on the floor, now you can do it.
okay, well, we're talking about the motion to combine them.
Okay, yeah.
I think there, at least from my point of view, there's nothing substantial that I have a concern about for any of these proposed policy changes. There's a number of policies that are waiting for various work groups to look at them, but none of those are on this list.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Jalil,
Abstain.
Dr. Day,
Yes?
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Dr. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul,
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie.
Yes.
Motion
It
carried.
becomes an action item.
Well, so now, yeah, so now we've got, okay. So I will make a motion to approve this combined list of policy updates. And if my motion gets a second, then I will explain.
I
why.
second your motion.
Okay. The one item I thought maybe to comment on, this is one of the student services policy updates. It's JM, and the only change was to add a footnote. But it seemed to me that the footnote is not really part of the policy. The footnote reads, school divisions that utilize school resource officers must address the use of seclusion and restraint by law enforcement personnel in school settings in their memorandum of understanding with the law enforcement agency that employs the school resource officers. So it seems to me that that's just a directive that our memorandum of understanding needs to incorporate. It doesn't need to be in this particular policy.
Dr. Brown, is it okay?
Yeah, go
If I
ahead.
may. Yes, sir. This due to a change in the VSBA policy where they added that into their policy as model guidance. However, that's already part of our MOU with the city police. And so it's just adding it to be aligned with that policy.
I think it just gives future boards the flexibility if they do or do not have SROs, so.
Yeah.
And if you do have SROs and you're using it, then it's sort of guiding you to, this is the second part that
So
you.
it's just information that's built into the policy statement in case in the future somebody's making adjustments, it comes to their attention.
Kind of like
Okay.
the bargaining policy that we saw too. We don't have collective bargaining, but we had it in there
Okay.
just.
Then, based on that rationale, I have no objection.
And the SSO project is working out very well. I mean, I've been seeing the Lincoln Middle thing when it happened, those SSOs were out there managing traffic, putting kids in their buses, so they are top of their game
Yeah, absolutely.
when it comes to especially those panic situations, so. Thank you, Dr. Brown.
No problem. Thank you.
So the motion is on the floor and it's been seconded to
Okay.
approve all these.
Any more discussion?
Question about the drugs in school. Do we have a section that talks about, because it says do not sell, distribute, or possess, or intend to sell on the vaping. But I've read vaping in the policy, so, but does it apply here? Yes or no?
Which policy are you looking at?
I think she's talking about
No,
JMC.
yeah, the one that, yes. It's right in the very beginning. No person may manufacture, sell, or distribute, or possess. Intent to sell, give, or distribute controlled substance. Now, I don't know if vaping is a controlled substance, but it's thought of more or less like smoking.
Yeah, I don't have it pulled up in front of me. If you give me a minute, I can. But I believe that's talking about the controlled substances, which vaping and
Is not
nicotine
considered.
would be
That's
covered
what I
under
was
the nicotine vaping policy,
Okay.
and the
that's-
nicotine policy.
That's what I was wondering. Okay, I'm good.
Okay.
Right? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gilio,
Abstain.
Dr. Day,
Yes?
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Dr. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul,
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The others are informational items. Thursday, May 23rd, Ad hoc Discipline Committee meeting at 3:30. Tuesday, May 28th, Academic Success Committee meeting at 3:30. Sunday, June 2nd, we have a EC Glass High School graduation at 8 a.m. And Sunday, June 2nd, we have Heritage High School graduation at 11:30, both at Lynchburg City Stadium. Tuesday, June 4th, the next school board meeting at 5 p.m. here in the boardroom. Thursday, June 6th, discipline data review meeting at 3:30. And tentative school board dates,
There's a file attachment with
there's
the,
a file attachment. So it's just for informational item?
I guess so.
Okay.
I do have one other thing
Go ahead.
to add to this list of upcoming dates. The Facilities and Finance Committee has scheduled an extra meeting on June 13th. The purpose is to review additional information from our health insurance consultant on some recommended changes to our current self-insured plan. So we're trying to get that in time for us to bring a recommendation to the board. So an extra meeting on June 13th.
Thank you. The next item is a closed session. The school board chair recommends the board approves a motion to convene a closed meeting to discuss the following as permitted by the Virginia Code 2.2-3711A18, superintendent evaluation, and consultation with legal counsel on the issues of transgender policy, transgender model policy. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Motion.
Second.
Mrs. Lowry, Dr. Day, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Jalil,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
Yes?
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Dr. Carter,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul,
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Just for public consumption, we're still in, we're in closed session now?
We have to go upstairs.
Okay. I just want, are we still on? The mics are still on?
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure people know that we have 2 board members missing today, so the superintendent evaluation will come back. We'll share some data tonight, but we'll not have a detailed discussion. So, not knowing they were not there, it was put into the agenda.
Right.
So, thank you. We're in closed session.